Salvador.
Sorry?
Salvador Mijares.
Salvador Mijares. Yes.
Hey, good afternoon. Also want to express our gratitude to the Science Ecology Forum for inviting my team to present and be honoring us with an award. I guess my paper will be a bit different from the previous papers. I've been dealing with older stuff. So my presentation is entitled The Callao Cave and the Discovery of the New Species, Homo luzonenesis. First of all, I want to present my team. So I'm the lead archaeologist of the team, and with my colleague from Tetua, who's the paleoanthropologist, Phil Piper, zooarchaeologist, and Enyo Grun, our geoarchaeologist. Just, I guess, to set up the discovery by setting it up in the regional context of Southeast Asia. So we know in Southeast Asia, you have, of course, the Homo erectus of Java. But even within the Homo erectus of Java, as had been already been discussed by our colleague, is that there's at least two types of Homo erectus: the older robust type and the younger gracile type. And of course, it sorry, went beyond. Oops, how do you go back? No, how do you go back? Sorry, confusing. Okay. So, of course, in 2004, it was published another species found in Indonesia, the Homo florensensis, by Mike Morwood and his colleague there, Thomas Sitikna. What's interesting for me for Liambua, where discovered Homo florensensis, is that this cave site was actually excavated by an old Indonesian archaeologist named Suhono in the 1970s, but it stopped at 2 meters. In the 70s, 80s, until the 90s, most cave archaeologists in Southeast Asia would stop at 2 meters. So what Mike Morwood did was actually re-excavate the same pit and go deep and discovered Homo florensensis. Recently also published in Nature another possible ancestral Homo florensensis found in Flores, in site Mitamanga, dated about 700,000 years ago. For the Homo sapiens fossil record, you have, of course, the Dipscalapnia, the Wajak man, who has been dated to about 28,000. The newly discovered Tampaling man in Lao. And of course, in the Philippines, the Homo sapiens of Tabon. Tabon Cave was excavated by Robert Fox in the 60s. And even with the analysis of Homo sapiens of Tabon, there seems also to be two types: an older robust type and a younger gracile type of Homo sapien. Recently also, another discovery was presented from northern Luzon. This is actually not a new site. We have known since the 70s that we have it's a fossil site of rhinoceros, elephants, and so forth. But what's important with this site is that the team led by John DeVos and the National Museum recovered an articulated rhinoceros with cut marks. So that per se really have been now dated to one of the oldest human occupation at 700,000 in northern Luzon. So for my site is located in Luzon, Callao Cave. It's part of what's called the Callao Formation. It's actually a lot of cave sites there, 100 cave sites, but so far we only excavated about 11 of them. Callao Cave per se is a very touristy cave. When I was excavating there, you have at least 200 people coming in the cave every day, asking you questions. What are you doing there? Are there dinosaurs there? Of course, we have no dinosaurs. Primarily because in the second chamber, there's a church built. So people go there for the church, but also going there for the site. No? When we published our paper in Nature last April, right after that was the Holy Week, there was about 8,000 people who entered the cave site. So this is Callao Cave right now. The arrow shows the mouth of the cave. That's the current mouth of the cave. I dug the area since 2003. The western side was dug by the National Museum in 1979 to 1981. I dug mostly on the eastern side and the southern side end of the cave, of the antechamber. So this was my excavation in 2003. I dug this site because as part of my dissertation, And people were asking me now, how do you know where to excavate? And I always say, it was actually me, it was my advisor, Peter Bell, who said, dig here, and I dug there. So I'm a very good student of Peter Bell. So it was Peter Bell who decided where for me to dig at the time. So in 2003, we already have these two culture layers. The upper one's about 3,300 years ago, and the lower one about 25,000. At the time, I was already bothered of the big hiatus between 25,000 layer and 3,000. Other smaller caves around Callao Cave, we have a continuous occupation from 10,000 to about 3,000. Yet the biggest cave here has the big hiatus. Why are they using the smaller caves and not using the bigger cave? So that for me at the time was already a question, which I will go back later on. So for the 25,000, we have bird cervid bones, typical church flake tools, and so forth and so on. In 2007, when I got my degree, I was inspired, of course, by Mike Morwood, what I've done in Liangbua, and I have a very good mentor, Peter Bellwood, who initially funded my research. So as a young PhD, difficult to get big money, so it was Peter Bellwood who funded my initial work at Callao Cave of Going Deep. So the Going Deep in Time project was initiated. At the time, of course, if you do go deep, you have to do the shoring, excavate it, sift everything, done it by the book, following Mike Morwood's work. So at 2.5 meters below surface, we found this breccia full of animal remains. So some of them are there. We reached about 4 meters down, but I was a bit frustrated because I think I've done everything, but there was no fossil. Until finally, I sent all my samples to my colleague, Phil Piper, who's the zooarchaeologist, and said one day, he called me up in my cell phone and said, he's British, "Hi, Mike, you have human remains." I said, "What? You have human remains?" So that night, we were, of course, drunk. So this is the first human remain we have. It's a third metatarso. Luckily, my colleague from Etoile was also in the Philippines then. So he looked at it, he said, this is French, maybe human, but weird. So we have it, of course, sent to Paris. Unfortunately, in the Philippines, we don't have any collection of Negrito skeletal remains, but they have 25 of them in France, as collected by Albert Marsh in 1880s. So we compare it, the Callao, with the Negrito Homo sapiens, the Homo habilis, of course, with the Macacas and the Pongos, definitely it is Homo. And get published first in Journal of Evolution with a date about 7,000 years ago. In 2009, because you only have one, I actually initially sent it to Nature, and Nature said, no, you only have one, dig for more. So of course, we went back, dig for more. I followed the advice of my advisor, Peter Bellwood. He said, dig near the cave of the mouth. So that's what actually we're doing there. No? But in 2009, we dug again, we hit that layer, but for that year, I got 0 fossil. None. Actually, really none. But at least for me, it's good enough because we understand how the substructure of the cave is formed. In 2011, I got a bigger grant from Wonder Grant, and that's me, that one me, the front atoa, and at the back one is my student, Archie Tiason, and always call the guy that lucky bastard, because he found most of the fossils. At a time when we were so depressed, we were not finding anything, we went down, played the Beach Boys, and voila, one at a time, the fossil came out. So that year, we have two hand bones, 2 foot bones, and a set of teeth, and a juvenile femur. In 2015, we went back again, hoping to get, of course, everyone wants a mandible or a skull cap, right? So again, we went back, followed by Licky Foundation. We're not that lucky, but we're lucky enough. At least we have one fossil that year. This is another tooth, but at least it confirms that we have at least 3 individuals. This is the location. It's basically a 1 by 1 square. Look at the fossils are basically around together in roughly 1 by 1 square. No? So that's the 2015 one on the left, and the rest on the right. No? But you can also see these are basically teeth and phalanges. And of course, in those bone structures, these are the lightest one. So if you look at the principle of hydrology and geology, once the energy of the water recedes, it drops first the every once, and the lightest one later when the energy of the water is really low. So looking at that, I guess the heavier ones are somewhere else. So this was excavated again. That's the breccia. I'm a useware analyst. Unfortunately, we don't have a single stone tools ever recovered in this layer. We do a lot of animal remains. So we have mostly large mammals of deer. We have pig, possible extinct bovid. We also have murids. This murid actually just discovered a few years ago. According to Larry Heaney, you can actually see them in a high altitude grassland. And Larry Heaney was asking me, what is it doing in that level and the very humid area of the Callao cave? And I said, of course, I cannot say. Why? I don't know. So again, another murid, anapome. Although we don't have any stone tools that we recovered, we look at most of the animal remains, and 11 of them do have cut marks. These are V-shaped profile, the clear entry and exit points, shoulder effects, secondary power restorations, and calcific formation inside the cut marks. So again, why was there no stone tools? It could be geological or hydrology, or it was environmental. They were using bamboos that basically won't survive. No? But again, you need to excavate more to answer that question. Looking at all the excavations, apparently there was a big rock formation that's dipping from west to east, and we're now positing a possibility of a paleo channel within the cave that basically deposited most of these fossils. So using some micromorphology, we have confirmed it's basically a water rework area, also evident with the animal remains. So when I was excavating this in 2003, people would always say to me, that big rock fall at the back there at the entrance is part of the ceiling that collapsed. So dig nearer there. But working there, looking at that ceiling every day for a few years, I said, that hypothesis must be wrong. It's not actually a ceiling that collapsed. Rather, it is a wall that collapsed. And used to be a sinkhole that basically how you enter it. That's why there's a hypothesis between the layer between 25,000 and 3,000, because the only way to enter the cave is through via the sinkhole. And this creature may or may not be a cave creature. This creature might have died near or around the sinkhole and got washed in. Sorry. So this is basically what we have right now. In terms of dates, we know it's about between 50,000 and 70,000. But the weakness of our dating is that we only use series dating. Now we tried single grain OSL, we tried argon, it didn't work. We're now trying our next paper to do an ASR. So basically the date is minimum age based on U-series dating. Okay. So that published this year, April. We were elevated from letter to article, and fortunately been cover page of Nature. So what do we have? Well, Homo luzonenesis, as we call it, is a mosaic of primitive, meaning Ossipicine-like, and derived, meaning Homo sapien-like features. Okay. So in terms of the foot, we discussed already metatarsal, discussing more on the intermediate phalanx. So we compared it with Ossipicines, other sapiens, and you can still see there with Homo sapiens at the other end is different. It's closer to Ossipicines. And even the curvature, the Homo sapiens have more flatter foot bone, and this has a more curvature, again similar to Ossipicines. For the hand bones, is in reverse. The hand bone of Homo sapiens are flatter, are in curvature. Homo luzonenesis have hand bones are more flat, and of course other features are similar to Ossipicines. Okay, so in terms of the teeth, it's more diagnostic for us than some other parts. It demonstrates features derived as a simplified ocular surface and reduction of size from M1 to M3, but many archaic features, large premolars compared to molars, only same with Paranthropus, and the mesodistal compressed premolars, You see on the one on the right, it's really compressed and asymmetrical. Some morphological features similar to Homo erectus. Okay, so we compared in terms of size. In size range, Homo luzonenesis is smallest among the other genus of Homo and Australopithecines. Yet, let's wait for the, okay, I'll be done soon. This one feature also is that the third premolar is three-rooted, and the fourth premolar is two-rooted. This can be with Homo sapiens, but very rarely. It can be mostly found with Australopithecines. No? So Homo sapiens have a two-rooted third premolar and one-rooted fourth molar. But again, similar to Australopithecine. So again, we're going back to the relationship between the premolars and the molars. You can see there that the molars actually are almost as big as the molars or the premolars. No? And you can only find that with the paranthropus. But paranthropus teeth are really, really big. Again, another slide of that, you can see the premolars of the Homo luzonenesis. It really is bigger, while those, the erectus, the francensis, and the sapiens have very smaller premolars. So, in summary, Homo luzonenesis was recovered from relatively large animal assemblage. Bone surface modifications and sedimentological suggest water reworking. Leading along supports reworking with skeletal remains above between 50 to 7,000. Cut marks on bones. And Homo luzonenesis demonstrate a variety of unique morphological features observed in no other hominin, with some archaic and more derived features. And unique features and size possibly a result of effects of insular evolution. So what are the implications? Discovery adds a new member of genus Homo, and it makes Southeast Asia an important evolutionary region. So now we have in the region Erectus, Sapiens, francensis, and now Luzonensis. It also raised more questions about human lineage, Homo lineage. In 2013, we did try to extract Asian DNA, but unsuccessful. We're now working with University of Copenhagen, to do the new thing, the polyproteomics or Asian protein, to be able to define whether there is you can be able to characterize lineage. How and when it reached Luzon Island, there's two contending views. One is basically accidental. It was supposed to be a big tsunami that's hitting mainland, bringing all these creatures to the islands. But I think for me, that's a bit too off. You know, we know that if the tsunami hits land, people die. There might be some surviving creatures, but you need a good population to be able to evolve. So I'm focusing more on there's initial intentionality. I guess once you become a Homo, part of the genus Homo, you can be able to simply tie some ropes. And with the skill of tying ropes, you can be able to tie 3-4 logs, and make a raft, and be able to cross, and let the current bring you wherever you want. Now, effects of endemism. There's always a question whether this creature arrived small and became small, or did it arrive small? No? So there's a lot of contending views right now. Again, we need to do further work. Discoveries in the Philippines and Southeast Asia as a major area for human evolutionary research. So there's no interest in the region to invest on this type of research. And next year, with the funding from National Geographic, we'll be excavating Callao Cave, hopefully to get more diagnostic fossils, maybe some stone tools on an area that's so far that have been excavated because it was cemented. But I have a discussion now with the governor to be able to have those cemented area broken up for us to excavate next year. Maraming salamat. Thank you.